Hi moms and dads, boys and girls, my name is Brian Kusko and today we're going to be looking at some bugs. Hi again, my name is Brian Kusko. I'm here with Roaming Reptiles and I just wanted to let you know before we get started that this video is made in partnership with the County of San Luis Obispo Library and for the foundation of the San Luis Obispo Public Library. This animal that I've got right here in my hand right now is a spider. You may have known that already by the 8 legs that he or she, I don't know which actually, has. That's what's known as an arachnid. Now when it comes to bugs, 8 legs means it's an arachnid. If it has 6 legs, it's an insect, and I do have an insect that we're going to pull out after Curly here, which is the name of this tarantula, who I don't know is a he or a she. This is Curly, and I call this animal Curly because, well, Curly is a curly-haired tarantula, and they are from Costa Rica, and I feed Curly crickets and little tiny roaches, which is why I'm holding Curly first. Now, this is where I'm really missing doing these shows in person, because if I was with you guys right now, I would call the bravest kid in the room to come up and stand in front of the whole show, and they wouldn't know what I was bringing out, but it would be Curly, and I would place Curly right on top of that kid's head. And chances are Curly would just hang out and everything would be just fine, especially if you have really curly hair. Curly actually really enjoys hanging out in curly hair. Now, one thing about Curly, who again is a tarantula, and this is true of all spiders, they are venomous. I'm going to see if I can do my best at taking Curly and flipping upside down. Wow, Curly is doing a very good job of being real good for you guys. So you can see those shiny things right there? Those are Curly's fangs. Yep, they're fangs, all right. And you can see him. Curly's doing a great job of showing those things off for you guys right now. I can't believe actually how chill and mellow Curly's been. I think that he's a little more chill and mellow because he's maybe not been put on a lot of kids' heads. I don't know, but he's super mellow right now. Look at this guy. Now he's kind of starting to move. Look at those legs go. All 8 legs. Here he comes. Oh, man, that was pretty cool. And Curly does have these spinnerets back here, and there's actually a little bit of silk, spider silk, coming off of them. I'm not sure that you can see it on the video very well, but there is a bunch of silk coming off. So he doesn't spin a web that hangs up that catches flies like a classic spider that you might think of, but he does still leave his silk all over the place and leave webs on the ground so that when he's burrowed in his burrow, like he does, because Curly, the curly-haired tarantula, does like to burrow down underground and have a little spot where he kind of waits for things to crawl by. He'll put his web all over the place. And just like a normal spider's web that's not a tarantula, he can feel everything. Oh, man, I really wish you guys could see this. Oh, you see that right there? You can see it right there coming off of me against that black background. You see that spider silk right there moving around a little bit. That is spider silk coming off of Curly. There it goes. Curly can feel when something's walking on his web and he knows to come out. Like when I put a cricket in there for him to eat and that cricket steps on that web outside of his little hole that he's dug, he comes out and pounces super fast. You see how he's moving kind of nice and slow and easy right now? Man, when there's a cricket, Curly pounces with a quickness and munches on that cricket. All right, Curly, he's starting to wake up a little bit. I think Curly was sleeping a second. I think I woke Curly up from his or her nap. I should really just start calling him him. What do you guys think? You guys think he's a boy or a girl? I really can't tell. Talk it over with your parents. Talk it over with your friends. Is Curly a boy or is Curly a girl? Curly, you're a mystery to us. So Curly and many other tarantulas do a really interesting thing when they're scared and for defense. Aside from having a venomous bite with those fangs there, before Curly will ever bite, first thing he'll do is flick the hairs off the back of his abdomen right here. And those hairs can be very irritating and get in the eyes of a predator. And he's actually flicked hairs on me before and gotten on my skin, and it's a little bit irritating. It's not the best thing to have happen to you. Doesn't hurt really bad, but that is one of their defense mechanisms, to flick the hairs off of their butt onto whatever predator is coming after them. It's a really interesting defense mechanism. Can you imagine if you got scared and your first instinct was to flick hairs off your butt onto whoever was scaring you? I've never done that personally. You guys? Now, before we put Curly away, I'll mention one more thing about Curly. And that's that in addition to 8 legs, like most spiders, Curly's actually got 8 eyes that rest up right on top of his head here. Curly's basically a head, a body, and 8 legs. Woo! I touched Curly in a funny way, and he started moving. I'm going to let him go back and crawl into his little hole where he can be comfy, and we'll bring out the next bug that I've got for you guys. Oh my gosh. It's a pretty creepy sound, isn't it? This is our next bug. Oh my gosh, this guy is fired up. I'm going to let him go. Not in the room, just back in his little enclosure there. So we'll bring out this female because the female seems to be a little less hissy. This is a Madagascar hissing cockroach, and this is the female. The females don't tend to be as hissy, it seems, and it looks like she might be full of eggs. She's looking big. Now, Madagascar cockroaches are from Madagascar, and the reason I was saying that I'm really missing these shows in person right now is because like I would have put Curly on top of one of you guys' heads. With these guys, I would have called up one of your teachers or your librarian or your parents, and I would have had them come hold their hands out, close their eyes, and I'd place maybe 1, maybe 2 of these guys in their hands just for them to check out. And I always thought that was pretty funny because sometimes these animals can actually freak people out. As much as I love snakes, as much as I love all kinds of different reptiles, it took me a little bit to get used to handling a cockroach for every reason. I'm even happier to hold the spider than I am to hold one of these cockroaches. That's something about their 6 legs. Maybe the way they look underneath almost looks like some kind of weird alien thing. It's just creepy looking to me. I don't know. This is when people say creepy crawly and they're talking about these animals, this is kind of what I think of. Now, I've gotten over it, obviously, because they're not nearly as scary as you might think. They don't bite. They're not going to hurt you. And they're not even really filthy or dirty like I used to think either. They're actually fairly clean. These guys actually have these beneficial mites that will cruise all over them. And these mites will kind of help keep them clean as well. These cockroaches are actually some of the more clean animals on the planet. And they've actually been around for a long time. They were around before the dinosaurs came around. And they were definitely here way before we got here. And chances are they're going to survive well past the time that our time is up as well. Because they're just some survivors. They're champions. These guys can live off of a little grease spot for a long time. Weeks, I think. And pretty impressive little creatures. Little hissing cockroach. But how impressive. Did you hear how loud that guy was hissing? So this is the female again. She's a bit bigger. And let me show you the male just so you can compare. So you can see the male is a lot more hissy. And he's also got these, oh my gosh. He's got these horns on his head. Oh, you see those horns on his, oh, these guys are really tough to hold. This is always a really fun part in the program because sometimes we have cockroaches running around the room and everybody's freaking out. Oh, which I can see why. So he's got these horns on top of his head. Oh man, those legs are prickly. And don't worry about them falling on this table. I mean, I'm sure they don't necessarily like falling all that much. But these guys, like most insects or all insects, have an exoskeleton. So it's like they have their bones on the outside. Like we have our skeleton on the inside of our body underneath all our muscle and skin. These guys' skeleton is on the outside. And all their soft stuff is protected on the inside. But man, these guys' little claws are just digging into my skin. Not gonna hurt me too much, but it doesn't feel that great either. Man, this guy, look, he's on the move. Would you guys hold one of these guys? Would you guys hold this cockroach right here? Or would you be afraid to hold it? Because I honestly was afraid to hold a cockroach at first, believe it or not. But it's silly. You don't need to be afraid to hold a cockroach because there's nothing to be scared of. Except for how creepy they look. Okay. Okay, so I didn't mention this to you guys at the beginning of this video, but if you haven't watched all of our other videos that we put out so far, I highly recommend you go back, start at the beginning, and listen to all the different information and see all the cool animals we've been showing off so far on this video series that we've been doing for the library. And yeah, also please do me a favor and take a moment to talk with your mom and dad or a friend about something that you learned here today, because when you talk about that thing with your friend or your mom or dad, it really helps you to keep that information inside and really helps solidify it and make it something that you will remember. Otherwise, well, you just watch the video again. But I hope you guys are having a great day. Take care.